Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Momo. Wanted to make a quick video on something I've spoken on before, just about attention and energy and how the media manipulates us and takes advantage of us through the attention that we willingly give them. So just to start off, I'll talk about the news media. So if you look at the 24-hour news cycle, they put out certain stories. They cover certain events, and it's almost like outrage and fear based. And I think they even have it down to a science so much that they can even choose to piss off certain demographics or certain groups. But I'll go into it now. It's like they're basically playing off your emotions, which is a very highly charged energy. They can put out certain stories and rile people up, get people mad. You've seen it recently with the Trump stuff about the immigrant children. Notice how they keep hammering it into you like, oh, the children, people are getting separated from their children, making him sound almost like Hitler, as if Trump is literally like going into people's homes and stealing their kids. But basically they use these emotional triggers and emotional cues to get people riled up. You see it a lot with the police brutality and police beatings, where they put these videos they release this footage and they just keep showing it over and over of people getting beat by cops, people getting shot by cops. It's just over and over. And they do that because they want to rile people up. Like, you think they don't know what they're doing? It's a fear and outrage culture. Number one, they're going to get ratings. And then number two, they get to fuck with people's heads. So, like I said, they have it down to a science so much now. I think they can target certain demographics. And then, you know, there's a concept called useful idiots, which is basically, you know, people who are so susceptible to propaganda and the media that if you put certain information or content out, that you can predict exactly how they're going to react, and you can mobilize them to do different things. You can get them to attack people, troll people. You can get them to march, protest, riot. You can get them to hate certain people. You can get them to hate certain ideas. You can get them to support certain ideas, support certain legislation. There's all sorts of things you can do once you are kind of tapped into that, which is another thing. Like they do a lot with the gun control and the school shootings. So basically, if they do that story, you can predict easily that there's going to be now a bunch of people who are upset, they're emotionally charged. Oh, we got to change the laws now. It's all reaction-based, fear-based, outrage-based. They use your emotions to play on you and get you to act or think in a certain way. Now, if you even look at some of the things that the CIA has said and done, if you look up Project Mockingbird, which was basically how the CIA basically planned to infiltrate a lot of aspects of the mainstream news media for measures of control. And then you can even see examples of this in people like Anderson Cooper on CNN. He was, I forgot what school he went to. It must have been Harvard or Yale, because those schools are notorious for putting out agents. If you look into Skull and Bones, you can see about that, but that's a whole other story. But anyways, Anderson Cooper was an intern at the CIA before he graduated college or before he joined the workforce. And also, he's a member of the Vanderbilt family, which I'm not sure. I think it might be one of the 13 families. It's basically an old bloodline that has controlled large aspects of the world's wealth for generations and generations. He's a Vanderbilt, and he was trained by the CIA. Come on, guys. Like, come on. But they're one of the organizations that take advantage of the power of the media. I'm sure there's tons of CIA agents all over Hollywood. And just to break off from the news for a second, if you look at the movies, they put certain ideas out into the collective unconscious. So a lot of these movies, one example is with the like alien invasions, where they have all these storylines of aliens coming to Earth, and now humanity has to unite together against one alien force, and it's no longer like countries, it's now just humanity versus everyone else, which is kind of like, I think, leading to that one world government, new world order type idea. If you watch like those Netflix shows, a lot of them have concepts like that. And then some other things that they do, well, I'll talk about why they do it actually. So one thing that they do, it's called like predictive programming or hidden in plain sight, and I think there's a couple of reasons they do that. Number one, I think they like to put certain ideas in our minds just to condition us to accept them later, or accept it as like some sort of rational possibility. And then number two is, I feel like it's part of the belief system of the elites that they're beholden by their own, I guess, law, you could call it, to reveal certain things. So if you look at all these television shows and movies, there's always these weird hidden esoteric messages and these weird predictive things in there. I don't think they're doing that just to rub it in our face. I think that's part of their actual law, that they have to kind of warn people or put a hidden message. And some people theorize that it has to do with karma. So basically, if they put a hidden message in a movie, but the message is there, it absolves them of their karmic debt or karmic duty for what they might do to us in the future. Because I guess the way it works is like, if they do these things to the population or manipulate the population, but they've hidden it in the media, in the mass media, then in a way they've actually warned us. So anything they do to us is by our consent, because we've chosen to kind of allow that to happen. That's one theory that they have. I think that for some reason it is part of the law of the elite that they have to reveal certain things or expose certain things about their plans for the future, or at least encrypt them in some sort of message. But that's just my personal theory behind it. And I think if you Google like hidden in plain sight or predictive programming, you'll get a lot more stuff about that. Another thing I want to talk about is the way that they reinforce different stereotypes and different behavior and social conditioning. So basically, you see this a lot with the black community. So all these TV shows and movies with the negative stereotypes. If you look at the reality TV shows like the Real Housewives of whatever the fuck, you know, all these shows with like the garbage ass people in it, dysfunctional behavior, ghetto attitudes, even the TV shows like Empire and stuff like that. Like, I literally watched the first episode of that and I was just like, this is some bullshit fucking propaganda. I could tell from the first episode. Basically, they reinforce these behavioral stereotypes, and it's a way to condition and reinforce stereotypes and also condition the youth to feel pressure to act in a certain way. And then if you want to take it a step further, you can even look at the, what do you call it, the gay agenda, which, okay, no, I'm not against gays or homosexuality, bisexuality, but I'm also not going to promote it either, because I feel like you see this also a lot with the black television shows. They put in all these homosexual or bisexual characters, and it's a way to condition certain behavior as being more normalized and acceptable. And also I believe it's a way to get into the minds of the kids, because basically if you can get into a kid's mind, you now own the entire generation. So you have all these instances of these shows where they have like the gay characters now. They do it real slick in the black shows, and I feel like in a lot of the media they've now almost make a lot of attempts to commingle black identity with feminine behavior or demasculinization or homosexual or bisexual agenda, even on their regular shows and movies, where you'll have like the weak, frail black kid or like the gay black friend, you know, that's just another way. But basically the concept is, with these television shows and movies and things, you can condition the populace, you can condition certain thoughts and ideas and concepts in the minds of the population, and it's a method of control. And then lastly, just the fact that people put so much time and energy into consuming this content. So I made a blog post actually recently that talked about that. I guess I'll put that in the description box, and I'll also put in the description box the video that shows how the news media is organized to put out different stories. So basically there's a video which just shows like when all these different news stations show a story, all these different channels not only will follow the same story, but they'll use the same verbiage, same exact phrasing as they're releasing the story. So you kind of have to wonder, why is it that they seem to be in lockstep all across the country, different news stations, when they put out these stories and videos, to even the actual words that they use verbatim is the same. But anyways, I was saying, as far as the media consumption goes, the time waste is also another thing. So basically you got people watching TV all the time instead of, you know, taking care of their body, hanging out with their families. It's another way to kind of make the family unit kind of more distant from each other. So, you know, you got all the family members in the living room watching the TV instead of talking to each other, interacting with each other. You've got people watching TV 20, 30 hours a week every single day when they get home, all day on the weekends. They're not, you know, hitting the gym, they're not reading books, working on their business, doing any type of self-development, you know, maybe growing a garden, taking a walk, going to the park, making food. So that's another thing, is it's basically a time sink that you're now giving them your attention and energy instead of investing it into your own pursuits. And then the other part of it is also just the fact that they're putting garbage in your mind. I say garbage in, garbage out. So these people are just putting all these thoughts and ideas in our heads. They're getting us emotional and riled up. There's just so many different ways that they can take advantage of the attention and energy that we give them. With the advertising and marketing, they're constantly getting you to buy useless shit or consume junk. I mean, there's just so many ways that they take advantage. That's why these companies and organizations spend billions of dollars on advertising or to get on the airwaves, is because it's such a powerful form of communication and exposure. So I just wanted to make this video just to point out a few different ways that the media plays on us, because I think if you look at it from a practical and a realistic perspective, as well as an esoteric perspective, that you definitely need to be aware of that. So that's pretty much it for today, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.